What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. And today we're going to take a look at mint on card vintage Kenner Star Wars figures. Lots of Droids line of figures sold, both graded and ungraded. I think actually they're all graded now that I think about it. But there were some good deals out there. Some of them I sent to my Patreon supporters in Buy It Now alerts, and they seem to like those. And guess what? eBay mercifully opened up my eBay affiliate program back up, so I can now send out even more alerts, much to your chagrin. And just keep in mind, if you don't like those, you can unsubscribe from them. But I try to send you guys good ideas where I see them, and some of you took advantage of a few of them here recently that we'll cover along with many others. So let's dig in. The first one is what appears to be a mint and sealed box, 15-inch, 12-inch, whatever you want to call it, Chewbacca. And, you know, I say appears to be because it wasn't labeled as such by the seller, but it was at an auction, and it's a seller that we've talked about in the past, Tough Nut 1974. And all the photos look like it's still mint and sealed box. So here's a good look at it here. Obviously, there's a lot of yellowing and kind of the tape starting to bubble a little bit, but it looked fully sealed to me. And judging by the sales price, I would say that the market agreed with me. The box was, not perfect. It certainly had some condition issues, probably a 75 if you got this one graded, but it still is mint and sealed box based on what I can tell. And it sold in an auction for almost $600 for the Chewbacca 12-inch. The flap on this is actually in pretty good shape, just some light edge wear right around there. On the flap on each corner, but in general, I think this would grade a 75 if you sent it off to be graded. And so that's a really nice looking example of a mint and seal box Chewbacca. Again, $5.96 free shipping on that one in an auction. Same seller also had this 41 back. I think it's the 41 back E Unitoys. I think that's the E. I can't remember, but Jawa. And so this one is slightly yellowed, so it's not a clear blister, and that's probably why it sold for what it did. A little bit of, you can see right here, there's some wave to the blister seal. That is common. That does happen. I've noticed especially with Empire Strikes Back card backs that around the stem, you can get overlapping, and this one appears to have that issue on the left-hand side where the seal overwraps, and it causes what looks at first glance to be a crack, but it's not. It's just a seal overwrap. And I'll talk more about that if I haven't already. I'll talk more about that when my 48 back C Revenge of the Jedi Yoda gets back, because I had that issue on this same issue on the Yoda. It looks like actually the overwrap is on both sides, which is what mine had on the Yoda. But this is the Unitoys Jawa on the 41 back offerless. And I think this would grade an 80, yellowed blister. It's very lightly yellowed. It sold for $388 and change. I think that's about right. I think I remember an AFA 80 plus selling on Hakes a few months back for around $600, if memory serves. It was unpunched as well. This one was punched with a price sticker, Kmart price sticker, but $388 took that one home. But you'll notice on a lot of Empire Strikes Back card backs, not just the 48 backs or this 41 back, but a lot of them have weird seal issues on the blister. Don't let that frighten you off, because the grading companies know that, all right? I've got an AFA example of a 48 back, as well as that CAS that came back, that's coming back today actually from CAS with the Yoda 48C, and both of them have weird kind of things going on with the blister, but the grading companies are aware of that, and they graded accordingly. And but again, you can see right here that the blister is slightly yellowed. $388.66 took that home. Now, this was one of those items that I sent to my Patreon supporters this morning after I got back up and running with my affiliate program. It was a mess. It took months before they finally agreed that I'm not a scammer, I'm not a spammer. I just send to my Patreon supporters Buy It Now alerts. It's just kind of a feature I want to give to my Patreon supporters that pay to help support the channel. And this is one I did send them, and they got a great deal on it. Brian C., congratulations. This one was a 21 back R5D4 listed for $450. The best offer accepted was $335. He got this for $335. Now, this seller is Deep South Antiques. They clearly do other things other than Star Wars. So for them, $335 is probably a bonus. They probably got this for super cheap, and it had one little ding by the ages 4 and up, but I think this would grade an 80 overall. Proof of purchase was not cut out. The blister was in great shape, very firmly sealed and clear. I think this would easily grade an 80. It's got some card issues, but very minor. And he got it for $335. So congratulations, man. I think that was a steal of a deal. I thought it was a good deal at the $450 number, but Brian made an offer on that one, and he got a great deal. So I'm really happy that some of these items that I send you guys end up in your hands at great prices, because that is a steal of a price for a 21 back R5D4, $335. I still can't believe you got it for that. Next up was an Obi-Wan Kenobi. This one on the other end of the spectrum sold for a little bit more money. This one is it's labeled the 20 back X. I have no idea what that means, but you can see there it's got the prototype, or the rocket firing Kit Bash Boba Fett. It looks like the sticker had been removed from it though, so you can see it's got a sticker residue all over that from where someone carefully removed the blacked out sticker that they used to cover up this rocket firing mechanism. You guys know the toy history that a child choked on a Battlestar Galactica piece, so they decided to get rid of the rocket firing mechanism for the Boba Fett. But on this particular example, it's very clear that the sticker was removed. There's lots of wear on it, but it's still sold for $730. $730 on this Ben Kenobi 20 back. A few other 20 backs. This was an AFA 80 plus 20 back G. And here's what that sticker looks like, at least one of them. There were some just pure black stickers, but there were some like this where it showed Boba Fett, a fearsome interplanetary bounty hunter, a threat to the Rebel Alliance, especially Han Solo, a new character in Star Wars sequel. So this is the sticker that was placed on there, and then eventually they also had some blacked out stickers. So this one is AFA graded 80, 85, 85, overall 80 plus. Unpunched, no price sticker, clear blister, chef's kiss. Magnifico. Magnifico. This was a beautiful Greedo. $18.39 took that home, and that seems like a lot, but I mean, I think Chris over at Rogue 5 Toys sold a CAS 85 that was, I think, this card back, or one of them, very close to it, for $1,800. So it was around the same price and about the same grade once you think CAS 85, might be like an AFA 80 plus, about the same, and they both sold for about the same price, $1,900 thereabouts. Next up, this seller had a number of beautiful mint on cards at auction, and the first one is another Greedo. Now, this one did have some bad tears on it. You can see there where the sticker was removed, and it caused a lot of damage. You got to just leave that sticker alone. And I'm guessing that this had a 32 back sticker on it. Sometimes you see the 12 backs with a 32 back, so maybe this one is the 20 back with the 32 back sticker overlaying the figures there, and that was removed as well. So this one had a lot of damage to it. It still sold for $306. So that's an interesting sale relative to this one that sold for over $1,800, where the stickers were not messed with. So just an interesting sale there. Here was an R5D4, kind of tatty condition, but this is one I'd love to have, and this is the 47 back free 4-lam offer. Very yellowed condition, obviously had some creases to the card. It still sold for $319. So that shows you that even, some of these yellowed blister R5D4s on the Empire Strikes Back card back, they do command some pretty good prices. I think I've got a 45 back. I think I've got the 45 back for the R5D4. That's the only Empire Strikes Back version I have for this particular bad motivator droid, but this one was kind of rough, admittedly, but again, it still sold for $319. Next up was a 77 back Imperial TIE Fighter pilot. I've got two of these. This one sold at auction for $213.50, and then after that one closed, this one also came up that I sent to my Patreon supporters in a buy it now alert. And this exact same car back, the 77 back A, in pretty similar condition. I would say both of those are probably about 80 grade condition. This one sold for $225 plus $6 shipping. So about the same price, $220 to $225 for a 77 back A Imperial TIE Fighter pilot with a yellowed blister. Next up was another one I sent to my Patreon supporters in a buy it now alert. And this was obviously General Lando with an unpunched card, no price sticker, really great shape. I think this one would grade an 80 all day long. It was listed for $400, and the best offer that was accepted, and I've already forgotten it. I looked it up on 130 point. I think it was around 360, 359, somewhere in that ballpark. But I looked it up. I was like, I don't need to write it down. I'll remember as I start filming it, and then 5 minutes later, I've already forgotten it. That's how bad my memory can be sometimes. Yet I'll pull up a sale from 6 months ago where I remember the sales price. So that just shows you how weird my memory is. But anyway, it sold around $360 or so, I think was the final sales price, which to me is a good deal. Mint on card, General Lando, probably an 80 grade unpunched card back. Obviously it's yellowed, but the card looked to be in really great shape. And I think that if it was a Patreon supporter, congratulations. I think you got a really good deal on that at around $360. Next up was a CAS 85 Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight. And this one is the 65 back C with the Emperor's Royal, the Emperor offer, mail away. It was a punched example, and it did have a price sticker in the upper right-hand corner, fairly moderate yellowing, but this one sold for $550. Pretty high subgrades on this one, 80, 85, 90 were the subgrades on that. So very nice looking Luke Jedi, and they seem to be kind of hovering anywhere from $450 ungraded to about $550 for these 65 and 77 back Luke Jedis. Next up, this was an interesting one that sold in an auction that I did not see, but it was awfully nice, and I wish I had seen it. This one was a Palitoy Return of the Jedi Luke Hoth with the double stem blister. So this was not a Toy Tony to my knowledge. You can see here, it's got a ding on the blister, but overall in pretty great shape. This is probably a 75, maybe a low end 80, but I think it's probably a 75 because of that blister ding up there. It's unfortunate for that, but clear blister, double stem, and I have heard there are some Toy Tonys that are double stem blister, but I would wager this is probably not, just based on first look. But it's a 45 back, and there are a lot of 45 back Toy Tonys, so I would want to double check that against my guide before I pull the trigger on something like this. But I thought the sales price was great. It sold for 280 pounds, only one bid, which is $357 US. There's a nice close-up of that ding. So I think this is probably at best a 75, but these are not ones that pop up very often. This one has the no COO country of origin version of Luke inside. I just think that's a really nice looking example for $350. That's the number I'd pay. Next up was an AFA 85 Darth Vader, and I imagine the seller on this one was not particularly happy with the sales price. This one was the 77 back A, 85, 85, 90 were the subscores. And we've documented a few, even yellow blister like this one, that have sold on Hakes for big money. This one was also unpunched with no price sticker, and it sold in an auction for 456 Canadian dollars, which is only 339 US dollars. That is a steal of a deal. I was thinking 450 to 550, really. If it was a clear blister, it would probably be more like 650 to 700, even in the current market environment. So maybe my numbers need to come down now, because typically an unpunched Darth Vader, it doesn't matter what card back it is. If it's in high grade like this one was, 85, 85, 90, 339 is not a very high sales price. I would imagine the seller was very disappointed with that sale. Here's another one that I thought was a really good deal. This was a 77 back Squid Head. This one is just the Hong Kong version, but it was unpunched and in really clean condition. A little bit of litho wear around the price sticker there, but overall, very, very clean. I think this would grade an 80 all day long, if not an 80 plus. And that one sold in an auction for $106.93. I thought that was a bargain. About, let's call that about $115 or so after shipping costs for a clear blister 77 back Squid Head unpunched. That's a good deal. And again, I think that would grade very highly. So great deal on that. Now let's dig in to finish things off some Droids figures. I think these were all graded, and they were some beauties. This one is an AFA 85 Kez Iban, who is one of the more desirable characters, unpunched card back. Very, very clean condition. And that one sold in a buy it now situation for $800. There were also some auctions that were going on. Here was an AFA 80 plus Uncle Gundy. And this one was a punched example with a Ben Franklin price sticker. I shopped at Ben Franklin all the time growing up. Ben Franklin and Woolworths were my two favorites growing up for G.I. Joe and for Star Wars figures. So it's really cool to see that Ben Franklin price sticker. That one sold in an auction for $397 plus $12.99 shipping. So a little over $400 for an AFA 80 plus Uncle Gundy. And given that we've seen some high grade AFA 85 examples go for like $260, $275, to get a mint on card that in that high a grade for $400, I think that's very fair. Next up was King Gornish in an AFA 85. This one was an unpunched example with light yellowing to the blister. That one sold for $256 in an auction. That's a great deal for a very high grade example. It looks like the subgrades were 85, 85, 80. And, just a beautiful example there. Great card art on that one. $256. Here was an AFA 75 Plus Kia Mall. This one also was unpunched on the U.S. card back, not the Kenner Canada version. That one sold for $212.62. Another good deal there. So some of them have come back down a little bit, it seems like, but still very, very desirable. The Kez Iban, obviously the A-Wing pilot is very expensive. Obviously Boba Fett, and then of course Seiss Fromm and Tig Fromm. Those are all going to set you back a lot of money, but it seems like some of these secondary characters are coming back down a little bit. But that Kia Mall was a good deal. 75 plus grade for $212.62. And then finally was a Jan Tosh graded AFA 80 plus. This one was a punched example as well with heavy yellowing, and that one sold for $330. So anyway, just some recent sales prices I thought that were worth talking about. I hope that you guys are having some good luck out there hunting. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.